Hello, today we're talking about Gangs of Wasseypur Part 2. I've already made a video on Part 1 quite a while back. I rewatched Part 1 in theaters because they were just showing it at a theater nearby, and I was like, okay, I might as well watch it. And it held up really well. And then I was like, well, I have to rewatch Part 2 at some point. So I did get to rewatching Part 2. And Part 2 is also really good. I mean, it makes sense because, in case you didn't know, but I feel like everyone knows, the whole Gangs of Wasseypur Part 1 and Part 2 was like a big movie which had to be split into two parts. However, I will say I do like that it's split into two parts because part two feels very different from part one in the sense it's much more stylish, it's much more dynamic. I feel like it has more action as compared to part one, and I really enjoyed part two, honestly. Would I say it's better than part one? I don't think so. I think this is a rare case where, even though we know that it's supposed to be the same movie and it was just split into two parts, but in the end, this is technically a sequel. But I think because it was made as one movie, it really is as good as part one. I cannot tell you that one is better than the other because I genuinely think both are on the same level. Like, it might not be the same reasons. I think part two is a tad bit funnier. I think it has more action and it's much more stylish. But I think part one lays the groundwork. It's much more um, how do I was about to say realistic, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But it's much more it feels much more heavier in terms of plot and stuff, and it really feels like two different vibes altogether. Like, I if you watch part 1 and part 2, you will not feel like you're watching the same film, which is why I think the splitting of the movie has been done really well because it manages to make them feel like two different films even though they're technically not, right? But everyone's watched Gangs of Wasseypur. If you haven't, for whatever reason, go ahead and watch it. It's actually fantastic. I mean, if you've seen any Indian film pages, they keep sucking off the fact that Martin Scorsese watched part one and part two and sent Anurag Kashyap a letter. All of that aside, I mean that's good for Anurag Kashyap. I don't see how that fun fact ever. I don't understand why those things would motivate someone to watch a film. So I'm just letting you know if that's something which you're like, oh my god, I have to watch it. In case you're someone who only watches English movies and obviously know who Martin Scorsese is. But in general, I do think this is Kashyap, Anurag Kashyap's best work. I think part one and part two really is the peak of his filmmaking. I don't know if he ever comes close, if I'm being honest, because they're just so wonderful in their own regard. Like, let's just talk about part two, right? Because you have Nawazuddin Siddiqui, you have Huma Qureshi, you have Rajkumar Rao, Risha Chadda, of course, you have Tigmanshu Dhulia, who plays Ramadhir Singh, who I think I should just point out Tigmanshu Dhulia is a fantastic actor. He plays Ramadhir so well. It's actually fantastic. I think he plays it absolutely wonderfully. Nawazuddin is obviously killing it. Like, this movie has such stacked performances, and I just listed out like the big names right now, but you don't understand. Like, even the small characters, for example, Zeshan Quadri plays Definite, absolutely killing it. He absolutely kills it as Definite. You're invested into every one of these characters. Pankaj Tripathi has a bigger role. Pankaj Tripathi has a bigger role to play in this film as compared to, the first one. It's just wonderful. All in all, everyone's giving it their A game. The movie concludes wonderfully. It's a great sequel to part one, like I said, on the same playing ground. Like, you do not feel a dip in quality at all. And it's just beautiful. It's a fantastic film. I think this film is so fun to watch through and through, part one and part two. And the vibes are completely different. Not having Manoj Bajpayee be involved in part two is really good because it feels like a fresh movie with, it feels like a true sequel, which again I said earlier, it's not actually. It was just a big movie split into two. But yeah, fantastic sound as well, fantastic editing. All in all, it's Anurag Kashyap's magnum opus. It's what all the Indian film people like me, the Indian cinephiles, is what we usually recommend to like the white people who want to watch Indian movies, because this is one of those movies which has such appeal where you can show it to someone who's not even from our country and it would make sense because it has its base set in something which can be watched by anyone. Like it's not too specific to a certain culture of India, and it shows a certain culture of India without being something which only Indians can consume, if that made any sense. But all in all, fantastic film. If I had to give it a rating, I would say it's 4 out of 5. I do feel like the movie is a bit long for my liking, which is why I wouldn't say it's a 4.5 or a 5. And I don't have that much personal connection with the film that I would give it a 5. Absolutely not. But if someone did come up to me and say, I think Gangs of Wasseypur Part 1 and Part 2 are both 5 stars, I would not argue. I would maybe disagree, but I would understand. I would be like, you know what? You're kind of right. That's how good these movies are. So, if you haven't watched them, like, go ahead and watch them. Fantastic movies back to back. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this film. I know we start talking about part one a little as well, but like mostly about part two, right? Part one, I've already made a video. Go check it out on the playlist. But anyway, comment down below what you think of both the films. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.